The morning sun, usually a herald of hope, felt like a spotlight on Marie's despair. Her fingers traced the date on the calendar, a stark red circle around the day her temporary protected status, her very right to exist freely in America, was set to vanish. For years, Marie, a Haitian mother, had built a life here, fleeing the impossible aftermath of Haiti's devastating earthquake. Now, a government decree threatened to unravel it all, leaving her suspended over an abyss of uncertainty, and forcing an impossible choice. Temporary Protected Status, or TPS, was designed as a humanitarian lifeline. It granted legal residency to foreign nationals already in the United States, allowing them to live and work safely when their home countries faced catastrophic events like armed conflict or natural disasters. It wasn't a path to citizenship, but a temporary shield against the unthinkable dangers awaiting them back home, a promise of stability for those who had nowhere safe to return to. For Haitians like Marie, TPS was a direct response to the cataclysmic 2010 earthquake, a disaster that decimated infrastructure, claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, and plunged an already struggling nation into chaos. The earthquake was a wound that refused to heal, compounded by subsequent hurricanes and political instability. Returning to Haiti meant facing conditions that the U.S. government itself had deemed too dangerous, a place where survival was a daily struggle, not a guarantee. Thousands of miles away, Omar, a Syrian engineer, found his refuge under similar protections. Syria's TPS designation stemmed from the brutal civil war that erupted in 2011, tearing the country apart, displacing millions, and creating one of the worst humanitarian crises of our time. Cities became battlegrounds, ancient heritage was destroyed, and innocent lives were shattered. For Omar, and countless others, returning to Syria wasn't just dangerous, it was a potential death sentence, a journey back to unimaginable horror. With TPS, both Marie and Omar, along with tens of thousands of others, began to rebuild. They found jobs, paid taxes, started businesses, bought homes, and raised families. Their children, often U.S. citizens, knew only America as home. TPS wasn't just a document, it was the bedrock of a new life, a chance for stability and contribution after unimaginable trauma. It represented a fragile promise, a bridge built from necessity, connecting their past nightmares to a hopeful American future. But the nature of temporary is its impermanence. As years passed, and administrations changed, whispers of policy reversal began to circulate. The rationale shifted. Was that temporary a condition still truly temporary? Were Haiti and Syria still unsafe enough? For those who had built their lives under the TPS umbrella, these weren't just political debates, they were tremors beneath their feet, threatening to collapse the very ground they stood on. Fear began to creep back into their diligently constructed realities. Then came the official announcements. One by one, the Department of Homeland Security declared its intent to terminate TPS for various nationalities, including Haiti and Syria. The news landed like a hammer blow, shattering the fragile peace that hundreds of thousands had carefully cultivated. This wasn't just a bureaucratic decision, it was an eviction notice for families, a death knell for dreams, and a stark reminder that in the game of geopolitics, human lives often become the pieces being traded, expendable assets. For Marie, the termination of TPS for Haiti in 2017 meant her legal status would expire in just over a year. The U.S. government declared that Haiti had sufficiently recovered from the 2010 earthquake. But Marie knew the reality on the ground, a nation still grappling with poverty, gang violence, and cholera outbreaks. Her children, born in the U.S., were American citizens, yet their mother, their rock, faced the harrowing prospect of forced departure, or worse, becoming undocumented in the only home she knew. Omar faced a similar nightmare. Though Syria's TPS designation saw several extensions due to the ongoing conflict, the underlying threat of termination loomed large with each passing deadline. The idea that Syria was somehow safe enough for return was a cruel fiction to him and his family. The civil war raged on, splintering the country, and turning millions into refugees. Omar watched as friends from other TPS countries had their status revoked, knowing his turn could be next, threatening to unravel his family's hard-won stability. In the wake of these terminations, a desperate legal battle erupted. Advocacy groups, civil rights organizations, and individual TPS holders filed lawsuits, challenging the government's decisions. They argued that the termination criteria were misapplied, that the conditions in Haiti and Syria had not genuinely improved, and that ending TPS would cause irreparable harm to families and communities. The courts became the new battlefield, offering a glimmer of hope, but also adding layers of complex uncertainty to an already dire situation. As deadlines approached, Marie was forced to confront an impossible decision. Should she self-deport, returning to a Haiti still reeling from crisis, where her US-born children would be strangers? Or should she stay and become undocumented, living in the shadows, constantly fearing deportation and separation from her family? Both paths led to profound loss, a lose-lose scenario carved out by geopolitical decisions, leaving her with no truly safe or just option for her children's future. Omar, having built a thriving life, faced the prospect of leaving his established work, his children's schools, and the only home his youngest daughter had ever known. His choice was equally agonizing: uproot his US citizen family and take them to a war-torn country they barely remembered, or risk being separated, leaving them behind while he faced an uncertain fate. The threat of termination wasn't just about a work permit, it was about the fundamental right to keep families intact and nurture the futures they had painstakingly built. The impact rippled far beyond individual families. Entire communities, vitalized by TPS holders who contributed to local economies and cultural fabrics, found themselves under siege. Businesses lost employees, schools faced enrollment drops, and churches grappled with how to support their congregants facing such existential threats. The termination of TPS wasn't just a humanitarian crisis, it was an economic and social disruption, tearing at the very fabric of American towns and cities that had welcomed these new residents. Amidst the despair, legal injunctions provided temporary reprieves. Federal judges issued stays, temporarily blocking the terminations for some groups, including Haitians and Syrians, as lawsuits progressed. This created a rollercoaster of emotions, moments of fleeting hope followed by renewed anxiety with every court hearing an appeal. These stays bought time, but offered no permanent solution, leaving hundreds of thousands in a perpetual state of legal limbo, their lives dictated by judicial timelines and political whims. For many, facing the ultimate deadline, the only option became to disappear. They transitioned from legal residents to undocumented immigrants, fading into the shadows of American society. They continued to work, often in grueling jobs, under the constant threat of detection and deportation, exploited and vulnerable. This invisible workforce, once contributing openly, now lived in fear, a stark testament to the cold reality of a safety net that simply collapsed beneath their feet, leaving them nowhere safe to land. Perhaps the most heartbreaking casualty of the TPS collapse are the children. Many TPS holders have US-born children, American citizens by birthright. These children now face the devastating prospect of having their parents deported, leaving them behind, or forcing them to accompany their parents to countries they've never known, ravaged by conflict or disaster. For these children of the storm, the fragile nature of their parents' safety directly threatens their own fundamental right to family and stability, creating a generational scar. Beyond the individual stories, the TPS collapse reveals a chilling truth: human lives are often pawns on the geopolitical chessboard. Decisions to grant or terminate TPS are not always purely humanitarian, they are intertwined with international relations, diplomatic leverage, and domestic political agendas. The fate of hundreds of thousands becomes a bargaining chip, a tool in a larger game where national interests often eclipse the fundamental human right to safety and dignity, making individuals expendable. The deepest wound for many is the feeling of betrayal. After fleeing unimaginable horrors, after being granted temporary protection, after diligently following the rules, working, and contributing, the government they trusted to provide safety pulled the rug out from under them. This broken promise erodes trust, not just in the immigration system, but in the very idea of America as a haven for the persecuted. It's a profound breach of faith, leaving a bitter taste of abandonment. For those whose TPS was terminated, life now carries the constant, crushing weight of uncertainty. Every knock at the door, every routine traffic stop, every encounter with authority becomes a potential trigger for deportation. This pervasive anxiety impacts mental health, community engagement, and the ability to plan for any future beyond the immediate day. The new normal is a state of perpetual fear, a silent erosion of peace that continues long after the headlines fade. For Marie, Omar, and thousands like them, the saga of survival is a relentless, ongoing grind. Whether fighting through legal appeals, adapting to life underground, or facing the agonizing choice to return to peril, their struggle embodies the resilience of the human spirit against immense odds. But resilience comes at a cost, marked by sacrifices, constant vigilance, and the profound longing for a security that remains elusive. Their journey continues, a testament to the price paid for refuge. The end of deportation protections for Haitians and Syrians serves as a powerful, chilling reminder of the fragile nature of safety in a changing world. It's a narrative that echoes across borders and generations, exposing how easily lives can be upended by policy shifts. The human pieces traded in the game of geopolitics leave behind lingering questions about compassion, responsibility, and the true cost of temporary solutions. Their story isn't over, it's a testament to an ongoing battle for dignity against a system that often forgets the human heart of its decisions.